Unbelievable, but is it actually? The Education Secretary expresses shock at U.S. test scores. We all knew that they were going to be low. Well, let's see how low that they really are going to be.
Or you can't say he didn't
We
warn
just been
you.
getting dumber.
Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself
We
out
knew
of
it
a
was
job.
coming. We knew he was going to do
put
something.
herself out of a job. Education department.
We knew he was going to get rid
All
of
right,
the
and a move
education.
that seems to portend the beginning of the end for the
Terrible
department
Trump
that
impression.
Republicans, going back to Reagan, pledged to abolish. The Department of Education today told staffers to vacate their
Not gonna be
offices
good.
by 6 p.m. because the offices were closing nationwide. The
Goodbye.
doors are now locked. Workers aren't going to be
Unapologetic.
allowed back into the buildings until at least Thursday. When they do return, it'll be a more cozier group.
Been bad.
Nearly half of the
everything.
4,100
What was it
workers
cut
are being
for?
cut in what the department is calling
Early
a
Tuesday, a
reduction
memo
in
sent out to
force.
all education department
President
employees.
Trump addressed
Wait,
staff
no,
cuts in
go back,
general.
go back. What are you doing? Give me
Reduction
time
in
to read it.
force.
Informing that the Department of Education offices will be closed Tuesday evening through Wednesday due to security reasons.
President Trump
sure.
addressed staff cuts in general today.
From backlash,
We want to cut
maybe?
people that aren't doing the job. We want to keep the right people.
Absolutely.
And I said, I don't want to just say
I love
we're
it,
going to
Elon.
cut 50%.
Absolutely, sir.
I want to cut the people that aren't doing
Who do you
the
think
job.
has more power?
Joining me
Trump
now,
or Elon?
Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon. Madam Secretary, great to have you in studio
Thank you.
today. All right. First,
She's the
welcome
secretary?
to the show,
Is that what
'cause you
they
haven't been in studio with me before. Now, is this the first step on the road to a total shutdown?
Yes.
Not gonna be good for
Actually,
Margaret.
it is because that was the president's
said, yeah.
mandate. This
Actually, duh.
directive to me clearly is to shut down the Department of Education, which we know we'll have to work with Congress, to
So
get
no more
that
Secretary of
accomplished.
Education
But
then?
what we did today was to take the first step
Who has to be
of
fired?
eliminating what
Who are
I
doing all
think
the
is
firing?
bureaucratic bloat. And that's not to say that a lot of the folks, it's a humanitarian thing too. A lot of the folks that are there, they're out of a job. But we
Shouldn't they
wanted
be?
to make sure
I don't
that
know.
we kept all of the right people and the good people to make sure that the outward-facing programs, the grants,
All the right people.
appropriations that come from Congress, all of
good
that are being
people.
met.
What does that
and
mean?
none of that's going to fall through the cracks.
So that was my next question. So the criteria for keeping that 50% is related to expenditures and key programs?
Correct.
They only got
Congress appropriates the money
50% of
that
them
is
away?
going through Title I, to IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what
Okay.
it stands for, except
doesn't
that it's
know?
the programs for disabled
Okay.
and needs.
Individuals with
Yes.
Disabilities Act.
Well, we need that.
yes.
I'm
Don't
guessing.
we? We're
I don't
keeping
know.
that.
I don't know all my acronyms. I've been here for 30 years. You shouldn't
This is my
know
fifth
them
day
either.
on the job, and
Yeah.
I'm really trying to learn them very quickly.
Right, it's a lot. So reports today said that the buildings
she's a
were going to
spokesperson,
be closed
basically.
for
She's the
security
spokesperson.
reasons. What does that mean?
Well, when people left today and
Retaliation.
they got their notification to take their laptops and their phones home with them, and we didn't want part of the people who were being permanently let go and those who are remaining to some of
We'll
them
have to
show up
manage
to
that
work
security.
tomorrow morning.
That's standard corporate
so it's
practice.
just standard corporate practice
Yeah.
that we just locked the doors and said for those that are coming back will know that they'll be coming back on Thursday morning.
Were people given a chance to take any personal effects?
They were
Everybody take a
told
couple
that they
days
would be
off and
allowed
we'll
to come
choose
back.
who's
We
gonna
would
come
arrange for them
back.
to
That
come
sounds
back
good,
and take
right?
Their personal effects with them, and to say goodbye to some folks too.
Randy Weingarten, you're shocked.
this
I know
is
you two were
insane.
catching dinner in about
Huge,
20 minutes,
massive
but
change.
she actually commented about what's going on here. Watch.
Think about a country whose
Education
president
Department.
basically says, I'm getting rid of education. What does that say about the future? So many people are so mad about it because they're just taking opportunity away
She,
from
like,
kids that don't
against it?
have it. So billionaires, kids of billionaires, they have it.
Let's stay on the facts.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
I'm
do not
really angry
apologize.
about this.
No, because this
I'm
is what
really
keeps
She was
angry.
getting real upset about it on public television.
Well, clearly, we're not taking away education. The president never said that. He's taken the bureaucracy out of education so that more money.
I thought
flows
that's
to
kind
the
of what I
states.
got
Better
out of it
education
was like,
is closest to the kid.
is it true that they're going to be taking education away from us and all the funding, or are they just kind of removing some of the bureaucratic nonsense that doesn't need to exist around education? I'm not totally clear how this is supposed to be working or what's going on entirely. Is it funding being cut from everybody, or is it just like bureaucratic bloat? I don't know. You tell me, dude.
Kids, with parents, with local
know
superintendents,
much.
with local school boards. I think we'll see our scores go up with our students when we can educate them with parental input as well.
Well, she's very
Okay.
angry. And over the weekend, I posted on X that it would be
Weingarten.
nice
I'm really
if
angry.
Randy were ever
just
angry
can't read it 'cause my face is in the
about
way.
the abysmal 8th grade and 4th grade reading
And
math proficiency. You see those numbers, like 18%, 22% of proficiency or above? In 4th and 8th grade, we rank near the bottom globally.
0.7% age 9 reading, 4.1 age 9 math, $68.1 billion, $76.4 billion, up 12.2%, but we were down 4% total in our
shocking,
intelligence
given how much
level.
we're putting up a graphic, given how much we spend.
Does that have to do with education? Or does that have to do more with access to the internet and so many things that are basically driving our kids to have ADHD and ADD because of the amount of dopamine deficiency they get by being in school and the amount of dopamine hits that they can possibly sustain by being on TikTok and YouTube and internet and stuff, like playing video games? Like, isn't that why? Could that be why?
And
People just don't care as much
yeah,
anymore.
I mean, it's terrible.
Well, I'll tell you, it's unbelievable. And when you think about high school seniors that are graduating, only 30% of them are reading proficiently. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't read words, but they can't read cognitively. And that's what we're missing. You know, you read to learn.
What is that?
Up until 3rd grade, and then after that, you're learning to read up until the end of 3rd grade, then you're reading to learn. And if you can't read after the end of 3rd grade, you're going to be behind in your reading. And so that's what we have to focus on.
Well, you know what I say to my own kids? If you don't read, I'm not talking about this, by the way. I'm not talking about phones. I'm like, if you don't read real books, you probably can't write.
True.
What does that mean? Of course you can. If you don't read real books, like you probably can't write. What are you talking about? I don't like reading books at all, and I have a great writing. That was just completely. She made some shit up in her head and then decided to say it online. Like, dog, this is the people who are being interviewed. This is why people don't like Fox, dude. They say shit that they just make up in their head and they just think it's true. It's dumb.
Must
This is a
read
dumb
to
statement.
write.
It was dumb when she was saying
I've been
it. She
preaching
paused.
this gospel. I'm not saying my kids are all that great at it, but it's just terrible. I want to ask you on a personal level. You're a businesswoman and you've known President Trump for a long time. This is a new world for you, this education department. Right. How shocked were you, if at all, about how swampy it really is?
Well, this is my 5th day on the job. And so, you know, I did serve in the first administration of SBA. But so when I got to the Department of Education, the president said, look, I need an executive. I need a leader in the department.
Off active vibes. Thanks for follow, bud.
I found out, I said, okay, we have to identify where the bloat is, where the bureaucracy is, and let's start. We're going to start there because the programs, so many of the programs
Thanks
are
for
really
the follow.
excellent.
It always
we
comes
need
in
to make
waves,
sure
guys.
that money does get to the states, but we want more money to be able to go to the states. And that's what the president
Going for
said
3?
all along. If we get rid of the bureaucracy,
Somebody else give me a follow. Come on.
will go directly
Go for
into the
3.
states.
Block grants to states.
Perhaps block grants
I'm being
without so
greedy, I'm
many
sorry.
strings and red tape attached to it.
What's your interaction been with Elon Musk during your very brief tenure so
Oh, here
far?
we go.
Well, it's
Talk
been
about
excellent.
Mr.
And I
Elon.
did co-chair the transition committee going into the administration, had a chance to work with him there. Have met with him twice, and we have Doge, a couple of the Doge, 3, I think, Doge fellows that are in our department, and I look at it as an audit. You know, if you were in the private sector, this would be an audit. And turns up a lot of things in the audit. Some of you look at it and say, no, we can get rid of that. No, this
Why
is the
keep things that we don't
implication
need? That's the real
understand,
question:
so
is
we
why are
can't
we
get rid of
spending
that.
our
So I
tax
think-
dollars on things
So
that
they
we
have
don't need?
read-only access to
Now we might need the
files,
Department of Education, though.
to your grant files and so forth?
That's
Well,
kind of
budget
to be
files.
determined.
Yeah, they're not changing any of the budgets of that sort. They're there to go to find out information, to make suggestions.
So they're
but,
not
you know,
changing the
The
budgets?
secretaries and the agency heads are actually the ones who run the departments and make the final decisions.
Well, it's great to have you in studio.
So they're just
You're
cutting
gonna
the
get a
bloat-
lot of
bloat? Are they
protests
not
outside
cutting
of
the
my old
funding?
department, where my first job in
Unclear.
Washington was at the Department of Education. I was only
Unclear.
22, but I had no idea what any of those people did in there. I just wrote speeches. I was like, I don't know what these. But it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having
All right,
me.
you take care.
So basically, our government is going to fall apart eventually, and that's basically what people have decided to in the narrative to be. I guess we'll see what happens. They said that they're not going to be spending the funding or getting rid of the funding, but you know, how does all this work? I don't know. You tell me.